my computer. Good morning. I am so excited, parents, that you get a treat today to hear from a dear friend of mine and one of the most treasured kindergarten teachers in our area, and she happens to be a fellow New Lifer. So I would like to introduce to you Miss Megan Wilson. Megan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. My name is Megan Wilson, and I am a kindergarten teacher at Coyote Trail. I have been teaching for 10 years, and I love every minute of it. And as Kim mentioned, I am a member of New Life, and I was actually a member of Del Norte Baptist when it was before it became New Life. So I grew up going there, and it's just been a pleasure to continue to bring my family through New Life.
It has been awesome. Her family is all very involved, and this past year Megan actually taught in one of our toddler classes, so we're very thankful to have her be a part of our body. But I was also extra blessed this year as she was my Ryan's kindergarten teacher, and I could not have had a better year with anyone else. She was awesome, so it was just such a great thing. And I know this is my job. I'm a family ministry director, but then you put on that hat as parent and like, oh my goodness, life can get crazy. And she was such a blessing to me and reminded me so much about grace as she taught my Ryan, and just helped me have grace for myself as a parent. And so I just wanted you guys to be able to experience a little bit of the goodness and the ways that God has gifted her this morning. I know that so many of our moms whose kids are starting kindergarten, this is just not the way you thought kindergarten was going to look. And that's already a really hard transition. And so some of you have chosen to homeschool, and some of you are being forced to virtual school for a little bit, and some are going to send your kiddos to school. But all of those are different from the way that we thought. And so this morning, I just asked Megan if we could pick her brain for a little bit to help us understand our kindergartner's mind and how we can best love them right where they are. So Megan, tell us what is our kindergartner going through in this time frame? Like, what can we expect? What changes? What are their greatest needs? What do you see in your 10 years with kindergartners?
So this is a huge transition. Even if your child has been in preschool before, or daycare, or just attending, Sunday school at church, this is a huge adjustment for them. And at the beginning, they're not going to really fully understand exactly what they're expected to do, especially right now with everything going on. Their whole world has been turned upside down, as everybody's has. And so just really making sure that you're meeting them, their emotional needs mostly, and just being there for them, encouraging them. They might have some pushback, when you want them to start schoolwork or do different things. And like you said, whether you're going to homeschool them and you have your own curriculum, or you're going to do virtual school where you're getting the assignments from their teachers and doing Zoom meetings with their teachers and whatnot, it's just going to be a really important time for you to be encouraging. I know we're all kind of stressed out and trying not to show them as much of the stress that we're going through. That's because they feed off of that so much. And if they know, like, you're positive about school, you're positive about what's going on, that's just going to change their view on it as well. I know going into kindergarten in a classroom is a huge, huge step for them. So when school does reopen and kids are able to go back on campus, really encouraging them at that time as well, that it's a great place to be. It's a wonderful place to be. If you're choosing to do online school with them and meeting their new teachers, super excited for them. Just really talk up school, talk up doing it online, talk about their teacher. What do they think their teacher will be like? What do they hope their teacher is like? Those types of things, just to try and get their mind going a little bit on those. But overall, the biggest thing is just be an encourager. You just want them to see your positivity.
Yeah, you're so right. We can totally change the tone of their year in every way by, if they hear our nerves about it, and I don't want you to go into this environment because it's going to be different. You may have those concerns, and that's okay, but they can pick up on that, and they can't filter it through adult emotions. So that just keeps on to them. I know we have to be extra careful with that because our Ryan is our youngest out of 4. And so there's a lot of big people conversations going on around him. And definitely in kindergarten is when he started picking up on a lot more things.
Sure.
Yeah, so we just really want to be careful of that in every way to encourage them. So what if we got, we have some of our moms that may have some teaching experience. We may have some of
Mhm.
our moms that is nothing they ever wanted to do or ever feel gifted towards.
Right.
And they're sitting down with their kiddos and they're teaching them virtually or whatever. And they just feel like my son or my daughter is not getting this. Like they're not getting it as quick as they should. Like, what
Right.
are those, you did a great job helping me, and I saw you help other parents as well. Like, we kind of feel like, oh, we're going to expose them to it and it's going to be an immediate light bulb. Like, what's a pace anticipation? Are there, you know, I know my mom really struggles with Ryan. She's been helping me this summer. If Ryan gets his letters backwards ever, she's convinced he's dyslexic. And so trying to have a conversation with her that, like, you don't really, you can't diagnose those things this early.
Right.
So, like, give us some good parameters for in there so we're not elevating our fears that maybe they're not catching things as quick as they should.
Yeah, for sure. So the first thing you have to remember is that every kid is different. So this might be your first child going into kindergarten. It could be your fourth going into kindergarten. And every child is different. And that's the biggest thing I always tell parents is you cannot expect, cookie cutters. If your first child was reading by kindergarten, they knew how to spell their name, they knew all their letters. And then your next child is like, could care less. That's how it was with my kids. My first son, he was ready. He was raring to go. He knew everything. He was writing sentences. It was great. And then Shane was not interested. And as a teacher, it broke my heart because I was, trying to pull all these things from him and it was just not in him at that moment. So
Mhm,
developmentally, just let them be where they are.
mhm,
There are things that I'll tell you in a minute to work on or to practice with them. Some things that at the beginning of kindergarten we stress and we really work with them consistently on. But
mhm,
again, everything is so developmental at this age that if they're not getting something, if they're mixing up their letters, if they're flip flopping their numbers, that is totally appropriate for this age group. And that's something you'll see through kindergarten and going into first grade. Something that I like to do is there is a list online. If you Google like developmental, abilities by age, it'll come up with a chart and it will show you like things that your child should be doing at that time. And that is in regards to physical things, it's in regards to academic needs. It's also like speaks. So if you have a child who is having issues pronouncing certain sounds, getting out, different blends when they're talking. That's also super developmental. So that's another thing that I know a lot of parents in kindergarten stress. Like, my child can't say their R's appropriately yet. And that's totally fine. Like, you want to make sure that you're not stressing about it because, again, those developmental needs we are going well above where they should be developmentally for their age group when they're in kindergarten. We're making them do things that is just not supernatural for their age.
mhm.
And so making sure that we're understanding, like, it's not a big deal if they can't write 3 sentences on their own. It's not a big deal if their D's and their B's are mixed up, if their sixes and their nines are mixed up. So just making sure that we're keeping in mind that they're still 5.
Mhm.
Some of them are 4 and some are 6, but developmentally, they're okay. So some of those things that, at the beginning of the school year that we really work on and something that parents could really work on is writing their child's name unassisted. So if, you give your child a paper and they can just go ahead and write their name, that's perfect. If that's something your child is struggling with right now, that's a great place to start. And that's something that you can do in a variety of fun ways and talk to them about their name and the meaning of their name and how to spell it, and they can write it in sand and use Play-Doh and all these different things. So that's a really good place to start if your child doesn't know their name. That's something that the first few weeks of school we're constantly doing. We
Mhm.
write their name 10 times throughout the day and we
They're
talk to them
so
about,
proud of that when they master that.
oh,
That is
for
a
sure.
huge yes.
It is. And they're so excited. And just really talking about those letters in their name, practicing cutting things, like let them cut,
Mhm.
draw lines on the paper, little zigzags or little swirlies and have them cut it. Letter recognition, going through those letters. And something right now, like at the beginning of the school year again, if you're choosing to do homeschool or virtual school, you want your kids to be exposed to letters, but
Mhm.
you want them to be exposed to letters out of order. So you want
Mhm.
to make sure that you're not just giving them the alphabet and having them go through, because they're going to remember the alphabet song and just sing through it and not really recognize the letter for the letter. So make sure that you are working with your kids with letters out of order.
Mhm.
And then another thing is just like basic counting. So how high can they count? You can even, if they're helping you with dishes, go ahead and have them count how many forks they pull out or how many spoons they pull out, and talk about, oh, did we have more forks or did we have more spoons? You know, those types of things. And those are all learning opportunities that they're not even going to think they're doing. And
Mhm.
that's going to be a really good thing for you, especially when you're starting all the, schoolwork and trying to have things a certain way. If you pull in these different games and little activities, they're going to be learning without even realizing they're doing it.
I think you're so right with that, because I think that's going to be really easy. I did homeschool some of my children, and we've had virtual school some as well, and then we've been in schools. We've done a little bit of it all. And I remember that when I first started homeschooling my kids, my degree is in elementary education, so I was trying to make homeschool like school, and I had made it so rigid that we were all miserable.
Right.
And it's what we think school is like, but our last memory of school is more like middle school, high school, and we don't remember how fun elementary and the younger elementary years were. And
Right.
so even in the classroom, yes, you have rigid rules and routines because you've got 24 children, but you also make it a lot of fun. So even in the classroom, you're making it fun. So at home, we want to make it even more fun.
Right.
And so just as much as you can, I love what you're saying, like count the forks, look, talking about things throughout your day, having conversations, counting things. I know one of Ryan's first things was I gave him one of my bills. I think it was like a TEP bill and a highlighter. And I would say, okay, highlight every A you can find.
Yep.
He was so excited because he was writing on mommy's bills. And it was just something that,
Right.
you're not allowed to touch the mail. So he was
Yep.
so excited, and highlighters was a big deal for him. And so anything we
Huge.
could do, and it just is, that's something we did in the car one day while we were waiting because I had it there.
Right.
So anything fun like that, just to repeat those things that they're learning, but make it in a fun way. And that way you don't always feel like you are just demanding that they sit still and do this. And
Right.
yeah, yeah. Any tips for, I know that we had to do virtual school with you at the end of the year, and I know that the beginning of the year is probably going to look a little different. The
Right.
superintendent and everyone is already telling us it's going to look different. But just engagement wise, any tips for parents on how to help their children be engaged with virtual school?
Okay, so that's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
It's not going to be super simple, especially right now, because again, going into kindergarten, when we're in the regular classroom at the beginning of the year, our lessons are 3 to 5 minutes long, and
Yeah.
they're constantly changing. So it's
Mhm.
not something that we expect kids right at the beginning of the school year to sit for 20-minute lessons and 30-minute lessons. Because again, going back to developmental, it's not appropriate. And we can't expect their little bodies and their little minds to focus for that long. So really making sure that when you are doing virtual school, that you are allowing them to take breaks, that you are allowing them, realizing that sitting in front of the computer for even 5 minutes is going to be tricky. That first week, maybe you might have more engagement because it's something new, something exciting,
They're
like they're
excited. Yeah.
seeing people through the computer, and that's very neat. But then once they get past that new excitement period, it might be like pulling teeth to get them to sit and do it. But again, just encouraging them that this is great. Like, this is so much fun. If we can do it this way, like one day you're going to go into the classroom and you're going to do it this way.
Mhm.
Those types of things. That's really, again, talking it up. Engagement wise, like, for example, if your teacher gives you an activity and you're working on it for a few minutes, let them go run around. Be like, hey, I want you to go run outside. I want you to go run around with the dog. And I want you to come back. When I call you, we're going to come back and we're going to finish this. And just really giving them those opportunities to, okay, if I get this done, I can go do something fun. And then I'm going to come back, I'm going to finish it. And
Mhm.
making it, again, like a game, something that's exciting for them. Because in class, we have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, We're going to, go and do this activity. And then as soon as we're done with that, we're going to go outside for recess. And then they're going to be way more willing to work with you if they know what's coming next and they know, what to expect. So just laying out those expectations for them. And like you said, this whole virtual school is going to look so different this first quarter because we've never experienced this as as their entry into school. And the kindergarten is such a huge time. So just be open, be willing to try new things. I can tell you, like, my biggest thing is don't stress because we're all in the same boat. And my favorite thing, so our new superintendent, I work in Marina, obviously. Our new superintendent, he sent an email to the staff the other day, and this stuck with me so much. And he said, remember that this is not our new normal, it's just our current reality. And that is something that we're constantly hearing people like, oh, this is our new normal. But it's not. Like, we're in this time and it's weird and stressful, but it's not how our life is going to be forever. It's just our current reality. Just stick through it, do what you can, do the best you can, and that's going to be all you can offer your child is just your best, and they'll give you their best.
Yep. And remember that God's mercies are new every morning. And so even if it was a rough day that day, it's okay. We're going to start the next day off on a fresh start. And God's going to give us what we need to walk through that day. So you did a great job of, I think sometimes it's easy as parents to only see what we feel like our children are doing wrong, or it's not out of a judgment, but out of a fear that I'm not doing what I need to do, or I'm not helping them get to where, or what if they're not going to succeed one day because I failed as a parent or whatever. So we see like what we feel like they're failing at, and we get so focused on that we forget the positive side. So can you give us a great way to use positive reinforcement with our kiddos at this age?
So that's totally true. And a lot of times, like, you want your kids to be a certain way. And when they're not a certain way, that's where your heart is. You want to fix that. You want those behaviors to go away completely. And again, we have to understand that they're little. Like, they are not going to know everything. We're the ones who have to teach them. And so if there's a behavior that's less favorable, just show them how to turn that around and how to make that into something positive. Something that we like to do in class is we have these little golden tickets, and that's something that you could easily do at home too. Just like little pieces of yellow paper, and every time they're doing something positive, you give them a golden ticket. And what would be beautiful at home is that if you worked on this all week, they earned golden tickets all week. Maybe on a Friday, you could go do something fun. You could go get ice cream for having 5 golden tickets. You can go to the splash pad. They're open, go do that. Go take them somewhere fun. Just constantly encouraging those good behaviors. And when they're exhibiting those behaviors that you don't want, maybe they're whining about doing their schoolwork. Maybe they're fighting with you, talking back with you. Just showing them like, okay, I understand that you're upset right now. I understand that you're having a hard time, but how can we fix this? Like, let's go do this. Let's try to go for a walk. Maybe that will make you feel better. I don't like the way you're talking with me right now. I would prefer you to talk with me this way. And just really turning those less favorable behaviors into something positive, and just really kind of turning it on them almost. They're going to get it. And sometimes at this age, we think they are little. We know they're little, but we don't give them as much credit as they deserve when it comes to behaviors, because a lot of times they know. They just need that, reminder from us to just, okay, yep, nope, we know that that's not the right way to talk to me, so let's try that again. Could you say, Mom, I don't enjoy this activity, but what can I do, to enjoy it? And try to turn that in a way that, okay, well, I'm sorry you don't like it. Let's see what we can do to make it better. Because there are going to be times where they don't want to do stuff. Right. And just really just showing them, okay, I get it. But as soon as we're done with this, you're done. Just showing them that light at the end of the tunnel sometimes is what you need.
Well, and even helping them put words to their emotions. So it's okay, like, are you feeling frustrated? Or, when mommy's frustrated, maybe if I take a break, I can come back. But sometimes when I just have to do it, and then I can reward myself. Or, really helping them see, helping them hear how you deal with emotions in their way, in the way you can talk to them, but even helping to put names to it. So the next time they can say, I'm feeling frustrated, this will help me, or this is what I can do. And
Right.
I know in our house, kindergarten was really tough for all four of our kids. They became very sassy in kindergarten time frame. And so we always had a fun thing when they would talk back to us in a way with like a sassy attitude. I would say, oh, that's not the right way. Like, can we try that again? And if they did it and they
Right.
still did it grumpy, then they had to add all of these adjectives like, oh, super beautiful, amazing mommy, may I please have? And then it was a
Yep.
lot of fun. And so then, it just became a silly game by the end of that time frame. Even with my teenagers now, I'll say, do you need to tell me how amazingly beautiful I am with your next comment? And they're like,
Yep.
okay, you're right. Yep, mom. Okay. Just a kind of a funny thing that we would do to add. But yeah, and we want to remember that parenting isn't just like, we're going to lecture them and they're going to have it perfect. Like, it's a training time. I mean, God did not expect us when we were saved to be perfect like that. He never expects that of us. He gives us the Holy Spirit and walks with us through life, and we're modeling that with our kids. We're going to gently guide and correct them in the way that God is calling us to, but it's a process. Nobody's going to get anything instantly, and it's a process, and we're in training for these things. So yeah, I love that. What was the best way that you think a parent can communicate with a teacher? Is that very important? Should they keep them in the loop on everything? How does that work?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah.
um, your relationship with the teacher is so important. So you want to communicate everything to them. And again, it's going to look different now that we're not face to face all the time. If you have questions and concerns, reach out to the teacher. And we promise, like, we will do our best to answer your questions. We might not have the answer, but we will do our best to find the answer for you. Even if it's just like, my child will not do this work, what can I do? Call the teacher, email the teacher. We are more than happy. That's why we're here. Like, this is what we love to do, and this is, what we're made to do. We want to be there for you and your kids during this time. I'd way rather have them in class, to myself, and be able to work with them. But right now, that's not how it's going to work. So whatever you need, communicate with the teacher. And if the teacher does something that you're not really a fan of, tell the teacher. Like, we're learning too. So if you're getting assignments and you're like, hey, this is way too much for us, let us know. Like, we need to know these things because we're all learning. So having open communication is huge. Another thing, and this goes for right now, our reality, but when we move back into the classrooms too, if something happens with your child, tell us. If something happens at home, tell us, so that we're aware and we can be sensitive to whatever is going on in your household. If your pet passes away, we need to know, because that's huge for them at this time. Even if it's right now during this, we can still be sensitive and we can still love on your child from afar and let them know that we're here for them, we support them. So always have open communication with the teacher. And like I said, even if it's something that you don't like, it might be uncomfortable to be like, hey, I think maybe it should be this way. Totally fine. Like, you're really being open and having that constant communication is going to be the best thing for you, for your child, and for the teacher. So just that constant communication. I love to hear from parents. Like, I get emails all the time, and I love it. And I will do my best to make sure that I'm answering those questions to the best of my ability. And if I can't answer something, I'll lead you to somebody who can. So make sure that you're really, really reaching out when you need it. And even if you just want to say hi, we like that too.
Well, and it's so good. I think sometimes that's why parents, I think moms really struggle when their kiddos go to kindergarten, is because they have been the world for their children. And when they go to kindergarten and they fall in love with their kindergarten teacher, sometimes real parents really struggle with that. But that
Right,
is such a good thing because God designed us to be in community, and to have
right.
another adult encouraging your child and telling them what a great job they're doing and how proud they are of them, that just encourages and builds our kids up. I think teachers and Sunday school leaders and, everyone in your community, grandparents that you can, to come around your child and encourage them and echo what you're already telling them at home is such a good thing. They need to hear that. I know Ryan just utterly adored you and would come home every day telling me. And sometimes when there were days he got in trouble, it wasn't that he got in trouble, it broke his heart that he broke your heart. And
Right.
so that was a good thing. And I would just encourage parents, one of the best things you can do for your kindergarten teacher or any grade teacher is just pray for them. As a Christian, like, they're leading kids all day long and they have their own families at home that they're caring for and going through school. So pray for your teachers. That's a great
Yes.
thing, that God would protect them and give them wisdom and how to guide your children and teach them. And but we want to be praying for them as well.
Yes.
Anything else that's on your heart to share with us this morning?
Oh, goodness. Just don't stress.
Yeah.
I know that's way easier said than done. I'm a stressor. Really take time every day. Like, I mean, as Christians, we need to take time every day to pray, to look to God's word no matter what. And I think that's huge. I mean, as a teacher and a mom, that's something that I do on a daily basis, and I have to. The other day, I sat and I dissected the song Oceans. All the words, I just took it and I dissected it and I made it work for the time that we're in. And it was so great for me. I felt 10 times better when I was done with that. So, really take time for yourself, take time for your kids to be kids. Like, just remember they're little, remember that this is weird. It really is just a strange time, and we just need to make sure that we're being gracious with them and that we are allowing them to have those feelings of, some are going to be super disappointed that they don't get the new backpack right now and the new lunchbox and get to go see their friends. And just really encourage them, like, it's coming, it
Yep.
will come, it will be fine. And just letting them know, like, constantly pray for things. I tell my boys every night, okay, pray for what you think you want, pray for what you want to happen. Like, do you want to go back to school? Okay, let's pray. Let's ask God to help us get back to school. So just really leading them that way too. So just be encouraging, encourage yourself because you're going to need it.
Yeah.
And it's okay to fall apart
Yes.
as a mom and a teacher, at the same time, it's a hard job. So
Mhm.
allow yourself, to fall apart sometimes too,
Yep.
and it'll be okay. So,
I
and
love what you said. I think having, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, no, I was just going to say, and always, 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 like I said before, tell your teacher,
Yeah.
reach out to your teacher because, again, we're in the same boat and we need that encouragement from you just as much as you would need it from us.
Yes. Yes. And I love what you said earlier about just, I think, putting together a couple of things you said, but just that routine, and even in the mornings, just getting up, and if it's a praise and worship song with your kids, or just having prayer at the table, or reading a family devotion, or, having that routine before school starts, that's setting their day on the right tone. A lot
Yep.
of times when I even homeschooled, we did that for me because I needed to be reminded that my strength to get through that day was coming from God. And
Right.
so we would spend our time as a family with God before we started school, and that was the way we started our day. And it really just helped us get us off to the right start. This is a great resource. This is from our curriculum that we do, Orange, and it's called Parenting Your Kindergartner. And they have one for every grade. It's great, but it's kindergarten is that look at me phase, when kids really need to hear things, just that positive reinforcement that we're saying, and just really encouraging where they are. But that also means that that's the age when we correct something, it can really hurt them,
Mhm.
because they're so looking for your praise. So just being cautious and careful in how you encourage and correct, and being very kind with your words during kindergarten, because their little emotions sometimes are right on the edge because they're really wanting to make you so proud of them. And
Right.
if you just come out of kindergarten growing closer with your kiddo, having a relationship with their teacher, but their child knowing that you are there for them and you're encouraging them and you love them right where they are, that's a great goal to get through kindergarten.
Yep.
So
Agree.
Thank you, Megan. We are so excited. And parents, we are praying for you all. We're praying for our teachers. And Megan, thank you for taking the opportunity to do this with us.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me.
So parents, please know that we're praying for you. We're going to be giving you lots of resources. And hopefully as soon as we can, we're going to be back in person here at church so we can be more a part of each other's community and not just virtually. So we love you all and we're thankful for you.